trade deal with President Eric Trump and bringing prosperity to the UK?
Look, I mean, it's a fork in the road. I mean, what you're identifying is just a fork in the road. I mean, it is an absolute imperative, and this is, I think, felt really across business and finance, trade unions, academia, the educated public. We really feel it's a fork in the road. I mean, I'm astounded by people, many of them are lifelong conservatives, who really want Keir Starmer and his government to succeed. They must succeed. We have to turn this round. We have to have a more vigorous economy. We have to have a fairer society. We can't carry on as we have been doing. Whether Starmer will follow through and do it, I mean, he's cautious to the point of being over-cautious. He likes to feel the ground under his feet before he makes a move. The sense of direction he wants to put the country is correct. His 5 missions are correct. It's just whether he's going to address these problems with a pea shooter or really kind of mobilize resource on the scale that's needed. And that's where I think the jury is out.
I guess you can pull him into line every time you see him at the Emirates Stadium for Arsenal. See that opportunity.
I'm told he's going to be sitting in the boxes, actually, away from the high below like me, so I'll be looking at him through binoculars, probably.
Former newspaper editor and author in the UK, Will Hutton, and his book, No Mistakes This Time, How to Remake Britain, is available now. Watermelon Man, signature tune jazz musician, composer, innovator, band leader, veteran performer Herbie Hancock. Now in the studio to introduce us to him in a minute is the host of Inside Out on RNZ National and RNZ Concert, Nick Tipping. Kia ora, Nick.
Kia ora, how you doing?
I'm great, but I'm not a jazz person. I'm glad you are, so I can get the most out of this, but I was avoiding using those terms, legend, icon, genius, because, they can be overused, but with your expertise and knowledge of jazz, is that a fair, legit description of Herbie Hancock?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, you look at the history of jazz and there are just a handful of really signature moments and signature bands. But Herbie Hancock is one of these really special artists who's been part of multiple signature moments in jazz, starting with Miles Davis's Great Quintet. It's one of the main drivers of that band. But then, ever since that, that was the 1960s. Ever since then, he's been continually innovating and changing the face of jazz.
Yes, so he's come to New Zealand later this year. What do you call that? The greatest living artist? Maybe that's a good description. When I heard about it, I thought, I don't know much about him, but I thought, he must be getting on. And yet, I've heard a colleague here at RNZ told me about going to see Miles Davis, who was also in his 80s when I think he performed for something like 3 hours, and that's what trumpet. So, is the age an issue here? Are people going to see a man at the peak of his powers, or just someone with that breadth of expertise from all those decades and get the value of that?
I've never seen Herbie Hancock not at the peak of his powers. He's one of those guys, he's lit from within somehow, this energy, this positivity just comes out all the time. I asked him about it, and he just seemed a little bit sort of evasive about how come he's just so positive. That's really the thing I take from his playing.
You interviewed him earlier this week. If he is this living legend, was it a bit hard keeping it under control? I guess this would have been a big moment for you as a bit of a forced, can we call him a fanboy?
You can call me a fanboy. Oh, yes. But honestly, it was unreal. I used to be a lecturer in jazz at Victoria University, and I taught a class on this guy. And then to be sitting in a room, talking to him, and asking him questions, and he's listening to me and replying, it was just weird. It's like, I can't believe, I sat here thinking, I can't believe this is actually happening.
But for those like me who are not aficionados, can you just give us a potted history of what is it we need to know about him? I guess it's not just that he's influential. Is it the case that people would hear music that's got his fingerprints all over it, other than just simply being a musical influence?
So he's written a lot of famous tunes. He's been active since pretty much the 50s. Well, he's active since he played classical concerto with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. But then turned to jazz and was a Blue Note recording artist at 22, which is a very young age to be invited into that stable. He then joined Miles's great second quintet, which, as I said, changed the face of jazz, brought a whole new freedom to the way jazz was put together. But then through the 70s and the 80s, he embraced technology and came up with tunes like Chameleon and Band Audition, which then translated into Headhunters, another famous kind of thing. Even if you don't know these lines, you'll definitely recognize the music. And then in more recent years, he's led quite an effort to bring jazz back towards the mainstream. There's one particular album of his I love called The New Standard, where he takes pop songs, all sorts of classic pop artists, this is back, a couple of decades, and puts a jazz spin on it. And so he's just continually creating new stuff, and I think even if you don't know any of the things I'm talking about, you will have heard some of his music at some point.
You had 20 minutes with the meeting this week. Where did you begin?
So I asked him, where does the innovation come from?
That's our story. I think a lot of it comes from curiosity. I just like to try things that I haven't tried before, or that I haven't heard anybody else try. Sometimes it works.
Has that always been the case, all the way through your career?
Many of the times it's actually worked. But I've been like this since I was a kid. I always wanted to try things and see how things work. Like I used to take apart clocks when I was a kid. I mean, not how the clocks are now, but I wanted to know how the second hand works. So I'll get a screwdriver, I don't know, like 5 or 6. Get a screwdriver and, open it up and try to see what works. And the one time I tried to do that with the electric train that my parents bought me, and that caused me to get what was okay to do then, but I got a spanking.
Sometimes creativity can backfire, right?